Welcome dear students again. Today in this video we'll read about the poem The Road Not Taken. Let's see the contents first. The Road Not Taken poem, and we will read about the poet, then about the poem and stanza wise explanation of the poem, and then summary of that theme and also glossary of this very poem. Okay, so let's read the poem first, that is The Road Not Taken. Let's start. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both. And be one traveller long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could. To, to where it bent in the undergrowth, then took the other as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted fair. Though as for that the passing there had warned them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay in leaves no steps had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way. I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh. Somewhere ages and ages hence two roads diverged in a wood, and I I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. The poem is written by Robert Frost. So let's read about the poet first. That is Robert Frost, who has written the poem The Road Not Taken. You know, dear student, Robert Frost, he was an American poet, so he's highly regarded for his realistic depictions of rural life, and is the most popular poem who is often quoted. Okay, dear students, for Frost was honored frequently in his life. So let's talk about the poem here. The Road Not Taken is one of Robert Frost's famous poems. So it symbolizes our here the road symbolizes our life, and sometimes in our life we are given a number of choices. We cannot go for all choices but we have to make only one. We have to go for only one. Here, the important message that the poet wants to give is that the choice that we make has an impact on our future life. If we make a wrong choice, we regret, and we cannot go back on it. So we must be wise while making choices. So let us explain the poem stanza wise. So first stanza here, two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both. Here, what the poet says, once he was walking down a road, and then there was a diversion. There were two different paths, and he had to choose one out of them. Okay, so he was walking in wood. There he faced a fog, you can say. So he has to choose only one. He cannot go through at the same time both the roads. Then what he has to do, he has to choose only one road. He cannot travel both the roads. Okay, so let's talk. You can see here, my dear student, this road which is diverging here. Now let's talk more about the poem. And be one traveler long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Here the poet says that as he was one person, he could travel one road only. He had to choose one out of these two roads. The poet kept standing there and looked at the path very carefully, as far as he could see. Before taking the path, he wanted to know how it was. Was it suitable for him or no? He was able to see the path from where it covered, after which it was covered with trees and was hidden. So, my dear students, here the poet wants to say that he was alone, so he cannot walk on both the roads. Therefore, he has to choose only one. So, before choosing the one, first what he does, he carefully looks at the path, okay, at the paths, so that he can choose the one. Now let's read more about the poem. And having perhaps the better climb, because it was grassy and wanted wear, though as far as that the passing there had warned them really about the same. So let's explain the stanza. The poet kept on looking at the one path for a long time, and then he decided and started walking on another path because he felt that both paths were equally good. He says just as fair, so as he felt that both paths were equally good and started walking on one of them. Here he adds that maybe he felt that the path was better for him, so he chooses it. So he chose it as it had to cross on it, which means that it was unused. After he walked on the path for some distance, he realized that both the paths had been worn out the same. So, dear students, here in this very stanza, the poet, for a long time, okay, looks on one path and then he decides to start walking on another path because here he sees that that both paths were equally good and they were and he again he feels that both paths were equally good and started walking on one of them. And but when he walks on one of those very roads, after some distance, he realizes that these both paths had been worn out the same. Okay, at first he feels that maybe that the path he has chosen he has chosen was better than the other. Okay, as it has cross on it, here it has cross on it, it symbolizes that it hasn't been used for by number of people. Now let's read more. And both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way. Now let's explain this very stanza. Here in this stanza, the poet says that both the paths were similar that morning. Both had leaves on them, and no one had stepped on them as they were still green in color. So, in the next morning, when the poet comes back, the poet says that those both the paths were similar, and they were having leaves on them. They had nobody has walked on those very roads because they were covered with the leaves, green. Okay, now he decides that day he would take one path and keep the other for another day. The other path, okay. Although he can know that one way leads on to another way. Here the poet decides that in this morning he will walk on one path, and next day when he will come again, so he will walk on another path. So let's read more. I shall be telling this with a sigh. Somewhere ages and ages hence, two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less travelled by, and that has made all the difference. So, my dear students, let's explain this very stanza. Here, the poet says that in the future, he will take a deep breath and say that once upon a time, he had reached such a point in life that there were two options for him, and he travelled on that road which had been travelled upon by lesser number of people. That decision of that decision which he made decided his future. It made a great impact on his life. So, my dear students, here in this stanza, what the poet wants to say that in future, okay, I will narrate this very story when he faced that situation in his life. What type of situation he faced? That once he was given two options, he had two choices, but among those very two choices, he had to go for only one. Okay, now let us summarize the poem. Here in this poem, the road not taken, the poet says once he was walking down the road and reached a fork. So, fork here means why the road is divided. Okay, why the road diverges. Here, what the poet says, he could walk over one of the paths only. It took time to choose the right path. He inspected both the paths and wanted to know which was better option for him. Then he chooses the one which seemed that less number of people had walked over it. Okay, he kept the other one for some other day, although he knew that he would never get the chance to walk over it. So here the poet says that he kept the other option for some other time, but the poet also here says that he cannot go for that option. Okay, here now let's see the theme of the poem. The main theme of the road not taken is that life is full of choices which will define our destinies. Okay, dear students, here the road it symbolizes the choice. Okay, in our life, dear students, we are given number of options. Okay, just as the poet once when he was walking in woods, there he faced a situation where where the road was diverging, where there was fog, but he has to go only for one. So, dear student, here is the glossary of the poem. So I hope you will go through it yourself. Okay, you will memorize these very words. Okay, this is other slide for glossary. So I hope you will learn it yourself. Thanks for watching the video. Stay home, stay